The rain fell like 1,000 silver needles, piercing the asphalt of Maplewood Street. The headlines were everywhere. Millionaire paralyzed. Beggar shouts don't get in the car. It was the talk of the town, a drama unfolding right before the eyes of those living in a place where hope often took refuge beneath a gray sky. Jake, just a boy of 10, felt his heart racing with every whispered word. A millionaire, glamorous and distant, now a ghost of his former self, paralyzed by a twist of fate, while a beggar, a disheveled man with wild eyes, had tried to warn him. It felt unreal, like something out of a nightmare. And yet, in this small town, the rain felt heavy with something darker than just water. Jake's own life had been cracked wide open since the accident that left his mother fighting for breath in the hospital. He couldn't shake the fear that fizzled in his chest, thick like fog. The words cut through the noise like a knife. A weathered man sat hunched against a brick wall, his tattered clothes soaked and his face shadowed. Fear flickered in Jake's gut, a warning resonating like a dull drum. The man's eyes were wild, earnest, and terrified. The urgency in his voice sent a chill down Jake's spine. Then there was David, an enigmatic figure who entered Jake's life like a wisp of smoke. He had a calming presence, yet he held an intensity, a past that seemed to cling to him, each layer peeling back, revealing more shadows. The whispers in town spoke of his own tragedies and choices, as if everyone was passing judgment, but nobody dared confront him. Jake felt both drawn to and wary of David, a bond forming in the wake of his own family's disintegration. Amid the rain-soaked streets filled with murmurs of pity and judgment, Jake faced an unsettling choice. Could he trust David? Or was he walking into another quagmire? Each idea churned in his mind as he stopped. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without prior notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching this? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The storm rumbled on, heavy with a tension that mirrored Jake's inside. The beggar's voice echoed in his ears. Don't get in the car. The words rang true, and yet he felt the pull towards David like a moth to a flame. Just then, a sudden flash of lightning lit up the street, illuminating the alley, catching the beggar's wild eyes. For a quick but fear chained him to the ground. The pounding rain washed away the world around him, leaving just the man huddled against the wall and the memories of his mother. He looked back at David, who stood a few paces away, his expression unreadable, his shadow cast long by the flickering street lamp. Just as he was about to move towards David, a horn blared, cutting through the chaos. A sleek black car rolled up, its engine humming like a predator in the dark. The door swung open, and a familiar figure stepped out. Ryan, Jake's brother, his face twisted into a mask of urgency. "Jake!" Ryan shouted over the deafening rain. "Get in, now!" The tension twisted inside Jake like a knife. He didn't want to hear the desperation in Ryan's voice, a voice that had often brought him concern instead of comfort. Confusion flooded him like the rain, pooling at his feet. Why was Ryan here? Why now? And why with that look on his face? Frantic, terrified. Before he could respond, a scream pierced the downpour. It came from the alley. The beggar was thrashing on the ground, his voice now a wretched howl. "Run, before it's too late!" The moment stretched like a rubber band ready to snap, and with that scream, a sudden shift took place. David stepped forward, his demeanor transforming in an instant. "Get back!" he bellowed, eyes wide. a fierce glare directed towards Ryan. Time accelerated. The realization hit Jake like a freight train. The intensity in David's eyes wasn't just about warning, it was a challenge. He knew something that they didn't. The tension between the two men crackled in the air, lightning in the storm, urgent and severe. "David, what do you know?" Jake cried, his voice slicing through the increasing chaos. But before David could reply, the car's engine roared louder, and with a violent jolt, it surged forward. A backseat passenger leaned out, revealing a sinister grin, a face Jake recognized. It was someone from the past, someone who should have stayed buried. Ryan looked more frantic than ever, his breath quickening. "Get in the car, Jakey, there's no time." But the moment felt too fragile, like a soap bubble about to break. The alley echoed with confusion, mixed with the sound of rain. And then something sharp flashed in David's hand, a glimmer as he lunged forward. The urgency had reached a crescendo. In one horrifying instant, a shot rang out, loud as thunder splitting the sky. The world stopped, eyes widened, disbelief hanging in the air. David staggered. A gasp silenced the rain. Jake's heart stopped. Everything he thought he knew shattered then and there. Who was David really? What was Ryan hiding? The black car revved its engine, as if waiting to swallow them whole, and Jake's mind swirled, uncertainty gripping him tight. He stood frozen in the rain, caught between two worlds, wondering which path would lead him out of the darkness. The storm raged on, and the choices screamed before him. David staggered, eyes wide, but the world around him narrowed. A pulse of chaos surged through Jake. The crack of thunder rumbled overhead, merging with the shot that cracked like a whip in the storm. David's grip on life tightened, and he fell to his knees, blood pooling quickly around him. The rain danced violently, mixing red with the torrents. "David!" Jake screamed, his voice breaking, every syllable laced with terror. His heart raced as adrenaline turned his fear into a jagged blade within. But right next to him, Ryan shouted again, "Get in, now, Jake!" Jake felt the tug-of-war inside. David's eyes bore into him. Were they pleading or warning? The familiar face in the car, the set jaw of a man who had haunted Jake's dreams from a past best forgotten, felt like a ghost rising from the abyss. It was Eric, Ryan's old friend, thought to be dead. The wind howled, tangled hair whipping against Jake's face like lashes. "Get in the car!" Ryan sounded frantic now, his voice a match for the rain, panic splintering through his words. That urgency was not the usual tone. Something deeper lurked in his eyes. What truth lay behind that stormy mask? Suddenly, the beggar threw his arms wide. "No, don't trust him!" His voice rang out, strained and shaky, pulling Jake's attention back. "They've come to take you." A violent fit racked the beggar. Too late, his warning drowned by the rhythm of the rain. The tension snapped. Jake, torn open by chaos, felt David's fading presence claw at his heart. He wanted to help, but fear coiled tight in his chest like a vice. And then David, weak but fierce, gasped, "Jake, it's not what you think." But just then, a chaotic wind surged, and something unnatural sliced through the chaos. Time slowed, framing every face in sharp relief, molded by urgency and anxiety. The atmosphere hung heavy, every heartbeat now a drumroll. Then a shadow moved. No, it wasn't David who fell. Jake's gaze flickered towards Ryan, who had been moving slowly, almost unnoticed until now. "Ryan!" "What?" The horror pointed in every direction. Jake took a step back. "What did you do?" A chill wrapped around his spine. Suddenly he felt tethered. The strands of trust snapped underfoot. The rush of betrayal burned hot like acid in his veins. With a smirk breaking through Ryan's frantic mask, Jake's world shattered. "It was time to let go of the past, little brother," he said. "All those secrets, they've been weighing us down." "No!" the beggar screamed, curling into himself. "You don't understand. He's planning to—" But the words drowned in the rising chorus of disbelief. David gasped, fingers curling as if trying to grasp the air that was pulling away from him. Shadows of their childhood flashed behind Jake's eyes. Memories drowned in innocence, laced with affection turned bitter. In that moment, with the rain crashing down as if the heavens wept, more than just David's fate hung in the balance. A rush of emotions swelled in Jake, doubt mixed with clarity. This wasn't just a choice about getting in a car or staying out in the storm anymore. This was about the life he thought he knew, and the monster lurking behind the face he'd trusted most. And then, a scream erupted louder than the rain, splitting the night. "Run!" thundered a voice, a hard command piercing through the chaos. Jake looked behind him. More flashbacks raced through his mind as he saw Eric raising something glinting in a hand he didn't recognize. "Now, Jake!" Ryan screamed again, just as he lunged. The storm roared, but Jake's mind spun wildly, caught between brotherly love and shattered trust. He faced the unknown now, each heartbeat a countdown. His feet rooted into the asphalt, heart caught in his throat. He stared at the tornado swirling around him. What truly hovered in the air wasn't just rain. It was betrayal, desperation, and a clash of loyalties uncrossable. And as the world kept spinning around the chaos, Jake made a choice that changed everything. He turned his back on the familiar and stepped toward the darkness. The storm raged on. Jake felt the weight of the world as he turned from Ryan, his heart hammering against his chest. Every instinct screamed at him to run to David, but fear of Ryan's frantic order rooted him in place. Time slipped like rain through his fingers, and David's desperate gaze burned in his mind, an anchor in the storm. Then it hit like a bolt of lightning. A scream, raw and primal, cut through the air. It was the beggar, thrashing in the rain-drenched alley, his body twisting and contorting as if battling invisible forces. "Get away from him. Don't let him control you." The words dripped with an urgency that hung heavily in the air. "Jake, please." Ryan's voice cracked, growing louder, more insistent. "Get in the car, now." Panic twisted his features into something unfamiliar, but something shifted, something dark, something Jake couldn't shake. This wasn't just about making a choice anymore. It was about uncovering truths that had remained buried for far too long. The rain formed a veil around him, thickening his thoughts. He looked back at David. What do I do? Just then, in a shocking flash, everything exploded around them. The sleek black car suddenly lurched forward, tires screeching against asphalt, a predator unleashed. Inside, shadows shifted. A second figure revealed itself, a woman with fierce eyes, lips curling in a wicked smile. "Hello, boys," she called, her tone syrupy sweet, yet dripping with malice. "Mom?" Jake gasped, a burning shock ripping through him. Heart racing, his mind swirled. His mother? Alive? He hadn't seen her since the accident, hadn't even allowed himself to hope. But there she was, emerging from the darkness, dressed in sharp colors that contrasted with the dreary rain. "Jake, don't! It's a trap!" David's voice cut through the confusion, raw with urgency. "She's—" But the words died on the tip of his tongue, swallowed by the roar of thunder and the drumming rain. "She's not your mother," the beggar howled, his body trembling as if the weight of reality pressed down on him. "She's been lying to us all." Jake's heart faltered, confusion and anger colliding. The world shifted on its axis, and for a moment, everything slowed. The laughter from the car echoed in the alley, and Ryan's frantic pleas faded into the background. "Lying? About what?" Jake shouted, pain slicing through his chest. What do you mean? Eric leaned out from the car, grinning deviously. Family secrets, Jakey, he sneered. We've always watched over you, haven't we? But your mother here? She had to keep her distance. For your protection, of course. His mind raced, a dizzying flash of memories colliding. A life full of questions, whispers left unaddressed. The pieces fell together, splintering his reality into shards. Jake. Ryan stepped closer, desperation etching his brows. You have to trust me. Please. Just get in the car. But even his voice wavered, no longer the bastion of safety it once felt. No, Jake shouted, a fire igniting in his gut. You're the one I can't trust. The realization hit like a punch. Everything he knew twisted, turned, and shattered. His family, his past. It was a twisted tapestry of lies. Jake, David's voice broke through, his eyes pleading, but Jake was lost in the turmoil. Everything had changed. Each revelation was a thread unspooling before him, every truth darker than the last. In that moment of hesitation, the ground quaked beneath them. The storm roared louder, a tempest echoing their inner chaos. Time lurched again as the black car surged forward, headlights piercing through the cascading rain. And then, with a deafening crack, something in the car exploded, a flash of blinding light illuminating everything for just a heartbeat. It was chaos, screams, shouts, an eruption of sound as the world spun out of control. Jake stumbled back, the earth trembling. He locked eyes with David, caught in the storm of emotions, questions swirling like leaves in a whirlwind. Was his mother really alive? What did it mean? How deep did the lies go? The scene was painting itself differently now, a darker picture, shadows curling around the truths he once assumed were solid. As the rain poured down, the storm seemed both cleansing and suffocating. And in that moment of darkness, he knew one thing for sure. Everything was about to change, but he didn't know into what. The air crackled with tension, all paths ahead obscure. A drumroll of fate played in the distance, and Jake stood suspended. The explosion had rocked the night, bright lights spilling like ink from a broken bottle. He blinked, the world a blurry mess. But in the midst of the chaos, he caught a glimpse of something he couldn't shake. David was on his knees, struggling, blood soaking into the ground, mixing with the relentless rain. He could see the ferocity in the beggar's eyes, something primal, something that screamed of deeper truths. "Get away from her," the beggar yelled at Ryan, who stood frozen, clearly rattled by the turn of events. "Mom!" Jake shouted, desperation drowning his voice. "Is it really you?" But even as he spoke, doubt rumbled in his gut. How could this be possible? How could everything he knew tilt so sharply, like the world had been flipped upside down in a single heartbeat? The echo of the explosion faded, but the frantic energy enveloped them. A shadow moved in the wreckage, but it was not the car that caught Jake's eye. Instead, it was David, who suddenly looked different. His eyes, once wild with pain, now glimmered with something calculated, something unsettling. "Jake," David rasped, voice barely above a whisper. "You don't understand what's happening. She's not who you think she is." The air thickened, every word a heavy weight. The moment stretched into an eternity, rippling with tension. The rain continued to fall, a curtain drawn over this absurd scene. The familiar contours of Jake's life shifted, crumbling under the weight of revelation. "Stay away from him," Ryan shouted, moving protectively toward Jake. But Jake barely heard him. He was grappling with the images flooding his mind, the memories that twisted painfully into new shapes. "What do you mean?" I breathed. "What did you do?" A sinister grin broke across David's face, one that didn't belong to the person Jake thought he knew. "You don't see it yet, do you? All of this, Every moment has been a game to protect you. He pulled something from his pocket, gleaming under the flickering light. A small device that looked like a remote. Your mother. She's not who you think. In that split second, something shifted inside Jake. It was like the ground had opened beneath him. Stop! He raised his hands, heart racing, panic creeping in. What are you talking about? Suddenly, a sharp crack filled the air, louder than the thunder. Jake turned just in time to see the beggar spring forward, eyes wide with fear, lunging at Ryan. Get out of here, Jake! His voice rang with a ferocity that commanded attention. In the chaos, Ryan drew back, hand moving to something concealed. A pistol? But before Jake could make sense of it, everything spiraled again. The beggar's back hit the ground, but he still reached for his hidden weapon. Not a knife, but a small metallic object that caught the light just right. No! David shouted, but it was too late. The device buzzed to life, and in that moment, the world distorted. The air shimmered, momentarily breaking apart. The reality they stood in fractured like glass. With a blinding flash, everything blinked out for just an instant. Breaths stolen, hearts racing, everything warped. The alley, the car, the figures, all morphed and twisted. Jake felt a rush, like being sucked into a maelstrom. Then it all collapsed back, forming a new reality. The rain had stopped. The air felt strangely still. Jake blinked, stunned, and looked around. They were no longer in Maplewood Street. They stood in a cavernous, dimly lit room, shimmering screens flickering around them. What the? Jake gasped, his voice lost in the new atmosphere. A flicker of motion caught his eye. Figures appeared, shadows blending into the walls of the room. Among them, Jake spotted someone familiar. It was his mother, but she looked different, stronger, sharper. The warmth he remembered was gone, replaced by an intensity that sent shivers down his spine. "Welcome, Jake," she said, voice smooth, but lacking the tenderness he longed for. "I knew this day would come." Stunned silence blanketed the space, replaced by the thundering pulse in Jake's head. This was all a setup? He felt betrayed, deeper pain clawing at his insides. As shadows gathered, secrets writhed in the corners of his mind, threatening to suffocate him. Everything he thought he knew, every bond he had forged, it all crumbled. In that moment, Jake realized he was trapped in a web far larger than himself. "What have you done?" Jake's voice trembled as the room closed in, a vortex of disillusionment. The truth was unraveling, shadows sliding closer. A question loomed in the air, heavy with implications. Who could he trust now? As the screens crackled and a new reality began to edge into view, Jake took a sharp breath. Every choice he'd made echoed, shaking the foundation of everything he had understood. And amid it all, the question lingered. Had he ever really known his own family? Would anything he'd believed in hold true once more? Jake stood frozen, heart racing, mind spinning. The room pulsed with tension, shadows stretched like fingers towards him. David knelt there, wounded yet fierce. His mother stood before him, but she was different, her eyes colder, sharper. "Welcome, Jake," she declared. But the warmth he once craved was twisted into something menacing. "Mom?" He stumbled over the word. Disbelief wrapped around him like barbed wire. "What are you doing here?" "Waiting for you," she said with a smile that didn't reflect in her eyes. "I knew our paths would cross again." The air crackled, the hum of the screens buzzing like angry wasps around them. Each flicker painted the scene in harsh colors, exposing the shadows of tangled truths. Jake's heart thudded against the walls of his chest, a relentless drum. He could barely process what David had said. "She's not who you think she is." Desperation clawed at him. "Can somebody please explain?" He shot a pleading look towards David, but David was still gasping for breath, the past and present towering over him like thunderheads. Then, suddenly, the room dimmed, shadows sprouting like weeds, swallowing the light. The screens flickered, drawing everyone's attention. "I never should have left," David murmured, eyes darting with fear and regret. They faded into silence, clutching secrets tight, and then a loud bang erupted, shaking the room, shattering the fabric of the moment. The screens exploded, pieces of glass and sparks flying, illuminating the chaos around them. "Down!" Jake yelled, instinctively ducking. In an instant, the voices became a cacophony of screams and shouts. The chaos was palpable. "What was that?" Jake shouted, heart racing. The walls around them trembled with a furious intensity. Then he saw her, a figure emerging from the clouds of smoke. It was a woman, tall and imposing, with long dark hair whipping around her like a storm. "Who is this?" Panic swelled within him, tightening his throat. The faint outline of familiarity flickered, a ghost rising from the depths of his mind. "Mom?" "No, dear," the woman hissed, stepping into the dim light of the room. "I'm not your mother." Each word sliced through Jake like glass, the betrayal boiling beneath its surface. Stunned, he staggered back, grappling with the jigsaw pieces of his world spinning wildly. "What do you mean?" Desperation spilled from his lips, hot and pleading. "Do you think your mother was protecting you?" The woman smirked, her expression a mix of delight and malice. She was hiding the truth. The air around him turned thick with dread. "What truth?" Suddenly, David sprang to his feet. "No, you don't want to hear this." But the woman waved him off, as if he were a mere insect. "Oh, but he needs to know," she teased, stepping forward, eyes gleaming darkly. "His mother isn't human, Jake." The world spun. The weight of her words pressed down like an anvil. Jake struggled to grasp the truth. "What do you mean? She's just a monster in disguise." She laughed, a sound cold and sharp. It echoed through the chamber like a ghost of the past clawing to be heard. He stumbled, memories crashing in waves. How could everything he believed warp so fast? The flood of emotion surged, sadness, fear, rage. Was it true? A past he thought he understood, shattered like glass around him. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the shadows again. Jake shielded his eyes. When the light faded, two new figures emerged, Ryan and Eric. They swaggered into the chaos like they owned the place. Eric held a glowing device, the same one David had earlier. "Jake!" Ryan yelled, pushing past the remnants of danger. "We have to get out of here. Now." "Why?" The question hung heavily in the air. Time wavered around them, thickening into something dark. Ryan's gaze flickered between Jake and their mother, a mix of urgency and conflict boiling over. "We don't have much time." Ryan's voice trembled, reality crashing in waves around them. The woman's laughter rang out again, mocking. "What's wrong, Ryan? Hasn't the game been fun?" Jake's heart plummeted into his stomach. What game? Confusion twisted into horror, painting his vision in shades of dread. Before he could process it, Eric threw something into the air. An orb that exploded like a firework, revealing swirling colors and shapes that blurred the lines of reality. The room twisted around them, raw panic coursing through his veins. "Jake!" Ryan's desperation rose again, but the woman stepped forward, closing the gap. In a flash, she lunged at Ryan, revealing sharp, glistening claws where fingers should be. The time froze. "Run!" David roared, throwing himself between Ryan and the advancing monster. "No!" Jake screamed as David's silhouette blurred against the chaos. The attack was swift, a vicious and deadly clash, and then silence fell. In that devastating moment, Jake's world cracked open wider, revealing deeper shadows and secrets long buried. "David!" The realization punched through the air. He was left standing in the aftermath, confusion reigning, lines drawn between allegiance and identity, blurring trust into nothingness. And as the reality shifted once again, Jake found himself staring at the choice of a lifetime. What do you do when everything you thought was true turns to ash? And before he could decide, the world tilted again, spiraling out of his control, begging him to discover the truth, still waiting to break free. Jake stood frozen, his breath hitching in his throat. Time felt warped, suspended in chaos as he watched David lunge forward, the air thick with anguish and confusion. A blinding light exploded from the screens, washing over them like a tidal wave. The room flickered, colors swirling into a vortex, and for a brief moment, Jake felt himself pulled apart, pieces of him scattering into the void. His heart raced, uncertainty clawing at him as he squeezed his eyes shut. The roar of chaos faded to a whisper. And just like that, the light dimmed. Jake opened his eyes to find himself standing at the very edge of the alley where the chaos had begun. The rain still poured, streaming down like tears, blurring the edges of reality. David was gone. So was the woman. Everything felt eerily still, like they had disappeared into thin air. "Where are you?" Jake whispered, panic tightening in his chest. "Jake!" Ryan's voice cut through the fog, bringing his brother's chaotic thoughts back. Jake spun around to see Ryan sprinting towards him. His brother's face was pale, eyes wide with fear. "I thought I lost you." "Lost me? But words failed him. Confusion twisted like a knife. More than this, he sensed something was wrong. His brother felt different. Ryan reached out, grabbing Jake's shoulders. "We have to go, now!" But instead of moving, Jake stood rooted in place, staring into Ryan's eyes. "What happened?" Ryan hesitated, fear dancing in his expression. "They're coming for us, Jake. I know who she is." A trill raced down Jake's spine. "What do you mean?" "Your mother. She's not who you think. She's part of something bigger, something dark." The words tumbled out in a rush as Ryan glanced warily at the shadows. "I don't understand." Jake's gut twisted. Everything felt dizzying. Memories of his mother flooded with doubt. "What are you talking about?" Muscles tensed in Ryan's jaw, his grip tightening. "You don't know, do you? The truth. It goes deeper than just family." Just then, the ground vibrated somehow, a low growl rising from the depths of the alley. Panic flared in Jake's chest. "What's happening?" A deep rumbling filled the air, shaking the very bones of the ground beneath their feet. Shadows twisted, thickening in the space around them. Before he could process it, a dark figure emerged from the mist, cloaked in an unnatural haze. It was Eric, standing defiantly, heart crossing in a mix of arrogance and anger. "You were never supposed to find out, Jake," he declared, voice dripping with disdain. Jake's heart raced, swirling with dread. "What do you mean?" But then Eric dropped the bombshell that shattered everything. "Your mother. She orchestrated all of this. The accident, the lies, everything. She's been keeping you from the truth." "No." Jake staggered back, breath hitching. Each word felt like a dagger, twisting deep. The gulf between him and Ryan seemed to widen, revealing dark waters. "Why would she do that?" "Because you're the key to everything. You control the power she longs for. She can't let you see it." The world spun wildly, realms of betrayal expanding. Jake's eyes darted between the brothers, searching for assurance that any of this was real. "But I thought—" A scream echoed through the alley, cutting through the tension. It was the beggar. He stumbled back into view, wild-eyed, his voice a desperate rasp. "You have to decide. Will you trust him or her? It's all a game." The shaking ground thundered louder, threatening to swallow them whole. Heart pounding, Jake grappled with the shifting truths, every moment painted in terror. "What's the game?" Then something snapped. A hidden door in the alley burst open, and a stream of figures spilled forth, clad in dark clothing, faces masked. The world descended into chaos. The air thickened with tension, and the weight of secrets piled dangerously high. People were shouting. Screams pierced the air as questions flooded over him. Who was he truly? What was the truth? And in that instant, Jake realized everything he thought he knew was unraveling in front of him. As he stood on the brink, the storm within him roared, daring him to leap into the unknown, while certainty slipped away like a ghost. Jake! Ryan's grip tightened, urgency flooding his voice. We have to go, now! But even as he said it, Jake felt the ground shifting beneath him, all foundations crumbling, his mind racing, heart pounding. Go where? He was left standing amid the unraveling storm, shadows dancing like flames around him. His entire world felt unmoored, the truth dangling just out of reach. The way ahead was dark, filled with uncertainty, agony, and lies. What would he choose when everything came crashing down? Jake stood frozen, his breath hitching in his throat. Time felt warped, suspended in chaos, as he watched David lunge forward, the air thick with anguish and confusion. The woman's claws gleamed menacingly, but before the horror could fully unfold, everything shifted again. A blinding light exploded from the screens, washing over them like a tidal wave. The room flickered, color swirling into a vortex, and for a brief moment, Jake felt himself pulled apart, pieces of him scattering into the void. His heart raced, uncertainty clawing at him as he squeezed his eyes shut. The roar of chaos faded to a whisper, and just like that, the light dimmed. Jake opened his eyes to find himself standing at the very edge of the alley where the chaos had begun. The rain still poured, streaming down like tears, blurring the edges of reality. David was gone. So was the woman. Everything felt eerily still, like they had disappeared into thin air. "Where are you?" Jake whispered, panic tightening in his chest. "Jake!" Ryan's voice cut through the fog, bringing his brother's chaotic thoughts back. Jake spun around to see Ryan sprinting toward him. His brother's face was pale, eyes wide with fear. "I thought I lost you." "Lost me? I just—" But words failed him, confusion twisted like a knife. More than this, he sensed something was wrong. His brother felt different. Ryan reached out, grabbing Jake's shoulders. "We have to go, now." But instead of moving, Jake stood rooted in place, staring into Ryan's eyes. "What happened?" Ryan hesitated, fear dancing in his expression. "They're coming for us, Jake. I know who she is." A chill raced down Jake's spine. "What do you mean?" "Your mother. She's not who you think. She's part of something bigger, something dark." The words tumbled out in a rush as Ryan glanced warily at the shadows. "I don't understand." Jake's gut twisted. Everything felt dizzying. Memories of his mother flooded with doubt. "What are you talking about?" Muscles tensed in Ryan's jaw, his grip tightening. "You don't know, do you?" "The truth. It goes deeper than just family." Just then the ground vibrated somehow, a low growl rising from the depths of the alley. Panic flared in Jake's chest. "What's happening?" A deep rumbling filled the air, shaking the very bones of the ground beneath their feet. Shadows twisted, thickening in the space around them. Before he could process it, a dark figure emerged from the mist, cloaked in an unnatural haze. It was Eric, standing defiantly, heart crossing in a mix of arrogance and anger. "You were never supposed to find out, Jake," he declared, voice dripping with disdain. Jake's heart raced, swirling with dread. "What do you mean?" But then Eric dropped the bombshell that shattered everything. "Your mother, she orchestrated all of this, the accident, the lies, everything. She's been keeping you from the truth." "No." Jake staggered back, breath hitching. Each word felt like a dagger, twisting deep. The gulf between him and Ryan seemed to widen, revealing dark waters. Why would she do that? Because you're the key to everything. You control the power she longs for. She can't let you see it. The world spun wildly, realms of betrayal expanding. Jake's eyes darted between the brothers, searching for assurance that any of this was real. But I thought... A scream echoed through the alley, cutting through the tension. It was the beggar. He stumbled back into view, wild-eyed, his voice a desperate rasp. You have to decide. Will you trust him or her? It's all a game. The shaking ground thundered louder, threatening to swallow them whole. Heart pounding, Jake grappled with the shifting truths, every moment painted in terror. What's the game? Then, something snapped. A hidden door in the alley burst open, and a stream of figures spilled forth, clad in dark clothing, faces masked. The world descended into chaos. The air thickened with tension, and the weight of secrets piled dangerously high. People were shouting. Screams pierced the air as questions flooded over him. Who was he truly? What was the truth? And in that instant, Jake realized everything he thought he knew was unraveling in front of him. As he stood on the brink, the storm within him roared, daring him to leap into the unknown, while certainty slipped away like a ghost. Jake! Ryan's grip tightened, urgency flooding his voice. We have to go, now! But even as he said it, Jake felt the ground shifting beneath him, all foundations crumbling, his mind racing, heart pounding. Go where? He was left standing amid the unraveling storm, shadows dancing like flames around him. His entire world felt unmoored, the truth dangling just out of reach. The way ahead was dark, filled with uncertainty, agony, and lies. What would he choose when everything came crashing down? Then, without warning, the air ripped open, a cacophony of sound exploding all around them. A portal materialized, swirling with dark energy, a whisper of power that felt both enticing and terrifying. It beckoned with a strange allure, promising knowledge, clarity, and danger. "Jake!" Ryan shouted, his voice barely cutting through the chaos. But something compelled him, an indescribable pull from the heart of the whirlpool. "Jake, don't!" Ryan lunged forward, unsuccessfully trying to hold him back. "It's a trap!" But Jake could hardly process his brother's words. The colors shifted, illuminating shadows of every person he ever thought he knew. His mother, Ryan, David, even Eric, twisting and transforming. In that moment of allure, the portal pulsed. Through it, he caught flashes of impossible realities, alternate lives. Each glimpse felt like a knife to his heart. Then he saw it. His mother, her face distorted into something monstrous. Merging with the shadows, her laughter mingling, it felt real. "What is this?" Jake breathed, entranced and horrified. But before he could comprehend it fully, the ground beneath him shifted again, and the swirling darkness rushed towards him, ready to consume everything he thought he understood. Jake opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. He was falling into a new reality, heart racing on the precipice of the unknown. Would this be the path that unlocks his future? Or the door to his ruin? Jake's heart raced as the swirling portal drew him in, its brilliance swallowing the dim alley. The light felt alive, electric, a pulsing force begging him to step forward. Every instinct screamed at him to run, yet he felt anchored. "Jake!" Ryan's voice pierced through the haze. He pushed forward, trying to snatch Jake back. "We can't let the shadows take you." But then something shifted. A burst of dark energy shot from the portal. It crackled, snapping like the branches of a tree in a storm. Suddenly, the air changed, charged with a different kind of intensity. "No!" Brian shouted, eyes widening as the energy coiled around them. The shadows began to writhe, forming shapes, faces emerging from the darkness. Echoes of voices swirled, familiar yet haunting. "Mom!" Jake's cry strained in his throat. The shadow took on her silhouette, flickering, wisp-like. It beckoned to him, pulling him deeper into uncertainty. Screams erupted from the corners of the alley, turning into howls. The beggar rushed past them, his eyes wide with terror. "You have to choose, Jake, before it's too late." Then, like lightning striking twice, a familiar figure stepped through the portal behind the shadow. David. He looked different, stronger, pulsing with a power that felt dizzying. "Jake, listen to me. Don't trust her. She—" Eric pulled a device from his pocket, the glow intensifying. "She's been waiting for you to find your power, Jake. You're the key to an ancient legacy." Every word felt like a stone dropped into a still pond. Ripples of confusion surged within him. "What are you talking about? My power? My legacy?" The shadow forming his mother shifted again, the grin widening, morphing into something grotesque. "My dear boy, you are destined for greatness." A jolt surged through Jake's veins as the ground trembled again. The reality around them blurred and brightened. "Stop!" Jake screamed, fear clawing at his chest. Suddenly, the shadows lunged and the world inverted. "Jake!" Ryan's voice dwindled into the wild uproar as the air split open. The entire alley spiraled into chaos. Then, in a flash, everything faded into darkness. And in the silence that followed, shadows shifted, reassembling into a familiar scene. A living room, warm and inviting, completely at odds with the chaos outside. The walls were painted in soft colors, sunlight streaming through the windows. Jake gasped, confusion flooding his senses. "What?" Before he could make sense of it, a sob broke through the quiet. There she was, his mother, sitting on the couch. But she looked whole again, untouched by the horrors he witnessed moments ago. "Jake, I need to tell you something." Jake felt a lump form in his throat, fear and confusion knotting deep inside him. He took a cautious step forward. "This isn't real. Your shadow, the darkness." She lifted her head, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "No, honey. Listen, I'm not who you think I am, either." A chill crept down his spine. "What do you mean? Your father, he didn't just die in that accident. He and I were part of something much bigger, a battle between worlds. I've kept you safe, hidden from those who want to use your power for their own." Shock slammed through him, hardening his limbs. "My power? Hidden? But I don't have any. What are you talking about?" A sudden shout broke the moment. "She's lying!" David's voice thundered through the room. "You have powers beyond what you know, Jake. Those shadows, they want you back. You were meant to join them." The realization hit like a physical blow. "You too?" Jake looked between them, dread flooding his senses. "Were you lying?" A torrent of questions exploded as confusion collided with betrayal. An answer, a truth that felt unbearably heavy, hung in the air, suffocating. Before he could process anything, a loud crash shook the room, and Eric burst through a side door that materialized out of the shadows, panic written all over his face. "They're coming! We don't have time!" In that instant, every relationship fractured around him, and Jake's heart battled within. The ground tremored again, a whisper of danger lingering in the air. The walls of the room darkened, shadows creeping toward them like hungry claws. Jake's stomach dropped. He was caught between worlds, split by secrets. And in that chaotic moment, unraveling the delicate threads of his life, he realized everything he thought was true, family, loyalty, power, had all been a lie. What side would he choose when it all came crashing down? With the shadows closing in, Jake felt time slipping away again, right before the darkness. The air crackled with tension as the room darkened, shadows clawing at the light. Jake stood at the center, heart pounding, each breath a struggle against the chaos. His mother's silhouette flickered between familiar warmth and something monstrous. "Jake, you must understand," she pleaded, eyes desperate. But David stepped forward, his presence solid. "No more lies. You're more than what they say, Jake." The conviction in his voice cut through the discord. "You're powerful. You have to choose who you want to be." Eric's laughter echoed, sharp and cruel, breaking the moment. "This is all part of her plan. She wants to use you as a pawn." Each word dripped with venom, further shattering Jake's reality. "No!" Jake shouted, shaking his head, trying to drown out the noise. Disbelief twisted inside him, churning as memories danced in his mind. A childhood spent under loving eyes, stories shared over bedtime. "Stop!" he yelled as the shadows surged. They lunged forward, tendrils reaching for him. But Jake's heart raced, igniting something deep within. Thunder boomed outside, reverberating through his bones. "I won't be a pawn!" With a fierce scream, Jake focused on the warmth within, the flickering light that connected him to the truth. He felt it swell, pushing against the darkness. "You don't control me!" Light erupted from his core, pushing the shadows back, illuminating the room. Ryan stood shocked, mouth agape. "Jake!" he shouted, urgency spilling from his eyes. "You've got to harness it!" In that moment, Jake realized he had the power to rewrite his fate. He turned to face his mother, stepping forward with determination. "You won't manipulate me anymore. I choose my path." The shadows recoiled, shrieking as the light clashed against them. Jake felt electric, every cell alive with furious hope. "You're not my enemy. You're my family." The light surged, enveloping him like warm sunlight breaking through storm clouds. "You don't have to fear the past. You just need to embrace who you are," David added, stepping beside him, solid and unyielding. The swirling chaos around them faltered, and Jake felt the influence of love and family touch him amidst the tumult. With a final surge, he released the energy, sending a blinding wave toward the dark figure that flickered between his past and the present. Then, silence. The screams faded, and the room began to stabilize. The shadow of his mother softened, transforming into a gentle presence. Tears streamed down her face. "I'm so sorry, Jake," she whispered. Regret lacing her voice. "I just wanted to protect you." Jake felt the tension dissipate, his heart aching for her. "I understand," he said softly, stepping closer, the space now filled with warmth. Moments passed, uncertainty fading as their connection deepened into something rooted. Ryan breathed, relief washing over him. "We can rebuild, together," he said, voice choked, and Jake nodded, realizing the path forward started with trust. But then, lurking shadows began to retreat, revealing figures standing at the edges. "This isn't over," Eric warned, eyes narrowing. "They'll be back for you, Jake. Your power, it's only just begun." A chill swept through Jake, igniting a flicker of uncertainty. The journey was not finished. His heart raced, a wild rhythm of hope and fear. "No, I'll be ready." As he stood with his family, grounded in love, the wind stirred outside, signifying change, a new beginning. He realized the true battle lies ahead. The world was vast, and his story was just beginning. "Jake!" Ryan called, pulling him back to reality. "We've got to prepare for what's next." Jake took a breath, shoulders squared. "I won't run from my past or my future." With a final glance at David, they all nodded. Together, bound not just by blood, but by choice. And as they stepped forward, Jake felt an electric charge in the air, possibilities vibrating like whispers of secrets yet to unfold. This was only the beginning. Before we say goodbye to this whirlwind adventure, here's something important. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss all the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button. This is the moment to show your support and boost the algorithm. and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what just happened. Let's hear your thoughts. Don't wait 1 second more to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with these actions. Thank you for being part of this incredible journey.